where the delay showed up before the hit by pitch, but there must have been so I had to go back and watch all of this back. But at the same time, then I saw Machado homer. I'm like, and my wife like knocked my phone out. And I was like, yep, pay attention. Stop looking at that. I'm like, no, we're going to talk about this tomorrow at 10. No, really, this is going to be what we're talking about. But I mean, it really was. And big bro Machado sticking up, for Jurickson, his bunny. But it really starts with Keibert Ruiz. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Giving him a talking to? I remember when Brian McCann of the Braves, I forget who it was going around the bases, but he had a little talking to somebody for not circling the bases right after they homered off of Atlanta. And I was like, what? Who are you, the morality police? The catcher, like, oh, well, you're supposed to do it one kind of way. Keibert Ruiz, you think you know how to play the game? Like, who the hell are you to tell Jurickson Profar anything, never mind interrupt the game to say anything? I thought the initiation of everything to follow yesterday was the single most ridiculous part of any of it.
It was. I mean, it happened so fast, too. Luis Suarez popped up. I think he popped up. And so his, he goes back to the dugout. Jurickson Profar comes out, starts walking to the plate, and the crowd starts cheering because he hit the walk-off the night before. So you have all these Padres fans that actually stood up right in front of the press box and started cheering for him. And then you just hear this hush. And, this hush come over the stadium and then this gasp, because if you weren't watching the field at that exact second, you missed what happened between Ruiz and Profar, and all you see is Manny separating them. But yeah, you go back and you watch it, and Profar said last night, you can talk to me, but the second you put your hand on me, I take exception to that. You don't put your hand on someone else, and I think Manny took exception to that too. I think that if they were okay talking, but as soon as he put his hand on him and then started with the chest kind of poke, you could tell Jurickson was biting his lip, and Jurickson also said after the game he wanted to be smart in that situation. He didn't want to get thrown out of the game, which was smart, Jurickson, because look, they ended up needing him. He hits the grand slam that ends up being the winning runs for the Padres because the Nationals made a little closer right by the end of the game. So Jurickson Profar knew, 10-year vet, and here's a guy, Keibert Ruiz, no offense to you, Keibert Ruiz, but yes, a catcher who came into the league, right? He made his debut, was it 2020? Yeah, he made his debut in 2020, all right? And so he's been in the league, 4 years, Yeah,
he was part of the Scherzer trade.
Exactly. Okay, but you're talking to a 10-year vet. You're talking to Jurickson Profar, who has more experience. He's been in this game longer. There are ways that I think that you can't, those are kind of the things that it's like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? And I get it. You wanted to talk to him. Okay, let's be real about that. If you guys really wanted to exchange words, you could have done that before the game. You didn't need to do that with everybody watching in a full, sold out stadium. But they did that because they wanted the show of it.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. Like, I feel like that there is that part of baseball that is fine. Like, you want to say, no, we're not gonna stand for that either. But then you got to, if you're gonna take the heat, what's the thing? Heat,
if you
hot.
Can't stand the heat,
yeah, that's right. Something.
Stay out of the kitchen, or don't throw a fastball up in Jurickson's kitchen, because he doesn't like that. Jurickson plays with an edge, and I think to completely be able to own everything that happened yesterday the best way possible, we have to own our role in it as well, because the Nationals aren't willing to own theirs. The Nationals are doing this in an existentially dead way. They're pretending to do what they didn't do. They're pretending that they didn't do what they did do. They're full of it, okay? They're full of it. Jurickson plays with an edge. Jurickson doesn't like to be thrown high and tight. He's sensitive to this in his baseball career. He reacted yesterday. Or on Monday, pardon me. He reacted. He did something. He incited the Nationals. I've got no problem saying that he looked right in their dugout and said, don't do it to a guy from Curacao. I'm right here. I'm fine. Like, I saw some of the translation. It was like, if you're from Curacao, you come with the fire. It was like, that's what he was saying, right? We've seen that. The Nationals wanted to respond. Okay. We know how you do that in baseball. You hit a guy, and they hit a guy. They hit Jurickson Profar yesterday. They want to pretend that they didn't, but they did. And they went so far as to have Winker basically say to Jurickson as he's coming off the field, like, get ready. And then Keibert Ruiz going like, hey, here's why we're about to hit you. And then they hit him. And somehow, even though the umpires had issued a warning, even though the umpires had literally done the thing that they're supposed to do, Mackenzie Gore was not thrown out for throwing a fastball into the ankle of Jurickson Profar. Of all the things, again, Ruiz, that was ridiculous. But Brian Walsh has such a giant role in this yesterday to say, how can you say that was not intentional?
Yeah, it's one of those, just like we talked about the sticky stuff, just like we talk about certain things in baseball, it's at the discretion of the umpire and the umpires to decide whether what they deem is intentional or not, right? And I think that, perhaps if it had been in a leg, perhaps if it had been in a back, perhaps if it had hit him in the shoulder, like whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I think, well, not I think, their thought process was throwing a fastball, missed his spot, had that reaction afterwards, which, by the way, could have completely been a well thought of rehearsed reaction beforehand.
Yeah.
Okay. And
weak sauce is
right,
what it is.
It is because it's that gray area again. It's that gray area again that we were talking about with sticky stuff yesterday. It's like, how do you know what is legal and what is not? And how do you know like when you can come up to the edge of the line or when you can cross it? It really depends on the umpire crew, I think, because last night they were willing to roll with what Mackenzie Gore did.
I have seen in my life, after warnings were issued, a pitcher get thrown out for not hitting a batter, but just for missing a pitch inside.
Yeah. Looking like they're going for it.
That was not missing a pitch inside. If he spiked a curveball and it one-hopped into Jurickson's ankle, okay. If he had flat-handed a changeup and it short-hopped into his ankle, okay. But what do they always say, Annie? If the pitch is above my waist, we're going to fight. Yeah. If the pitch is below my waist, I'm going to take my base. Mackenzie Gore cynically, knowingly hit Profar with a 98-mile-an-hour pitch in a bony part of his body down in the ankle because he knew he wouldn't get charged on the mound in that circumstance. And if he did, it would be at the expense of Jurickson Profar getting suspended, and it would have changed the entire narrative. The fact that Gore wasn't thrown out was ridiculous and simultaneously delicious because it allowed the sports movie that we then enjoyed and are all celebrating today to ensue.
It's after the game too. The Nationals were, their beat writers talked to the Nationals. I saw their quotes, and Ruiz was saying we didn't want to hurt Profar because he's doing so well, he's having such a great season, and we didn't want him to get hurt. Okay, so there's this little respect there that happens there, right? And that's what makes it so funny. Is it's like this was a well thought out or a well discussed. I don't know if it's well, but it was at least discussed and thought out. And this is how we're going to go about it. This is how we're going to do it. And the Padres were probably ready for something. They just didn't know when it was going to come. And I'm sure they had talked to like, we're not going to start anything, we're going to finish it, sort of thing, right? And so. Yeah, like Davey Martinez, I think after the games essentially said, we thought this would send a message.
Let's call it up, Braden. The links for the next segment, but let's do it right now. That first link under 1020 in the rundown. This is what Dave Martinez said. These were his exact words. And yeah, he said
is he
just what you
talking
said.
about the pitch here or is he talking about Ruiz talking to Profar?
He's not. What he's doing is politically not saying.
Okay, because that's right.
He's saying without saying the specific because he doesn't want to say the specific so that he can then claim that he has some believability that they didn't throw at Profar. But here's what he said.
That was, and that's all it really took, but it was not, for me it was a good way to send a message like, hey, great, you hit the ball, you won the game, but we're not going to tolerate that. So.
When you say not tolerate that, can you walk through specifics?
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and that's it. He talks about more after that.
He was.
I know a lot of people are saying. I don't think he was asked directly. Did Mackenzie Gore throw that pitch to hit Profar? I don't know that. I don't know what the question was.
It was like, can you comment on what happened in the first inning?
Yeah, so he's like saying we sent a message. Okay, we talked to put our hand on Profar. Said. Did this whole thing. It's probably includes, I don't know if it, I don't know. Schilt was after the game very insistent that it wasn't intentional, but it's hard to imagine. It doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. It looks bad either way. I thought there was a good comment made earlier, like in the morning show with Ben and Woods. It was like, if you forget to pay at a 7-Eleven and you just forget to pay, you're going to get in trouble regardless. Like, or you still did the crime. Sometimes it's not fair, maybe in Mackenzie Gore's world, I don't know. But like maybe if he didn't mean to hit him, but it's still like, it just looks bad. The perception of it just doesn't look good. Also, by the way, Mackenzie Gore, who are you? When he was in the Padres clubhouse, this guy said like, he was like very just chill and very, very nice. And I never knew he had this side of him. So I was like last night going, all right, Mackenzie, like I did not realize that after we saw him fighting with the teammate a few weeks ago. And so I talked to some of their reporters and they said, yeah, he's a very emotional guy.
Well, we literally talked about that on yesterday's show. If you remember. Hey, Annie, do you remember? We talked about this on yesterday's show. We said the best news for the Padres would be an emotional Mackenzie Gore as opposed to a collected Mackenzie Gore, because a collected Mackenzie Gore was guaranteed to shove against a Padres team that because somebody was trying to be really specific with me on Twitter about this, hadn't allowed more than 3 runs in 23 consecutive starts. Okay? Padres won some of those games later, beating a bullpen, but 23 straight left-handed starters had held the Padres to no more than 3 runs. Yeah. And Mackenzie Gore, last night, broke the streak. Streak's over. Done. 5 runs. So actually, my favorite moment of that whole game was Solano's hit.
Oh, man. What a great hit. He's been so good with 2 outs. I mean, he's just been incredible, and just the professional ABs that he puts up, and he gets it done. He's been clutch for them. And guess what? The starting lineup is out today for your San Diego Padres, and it's an interesting one against DJ Hers. Another lefty. Leading off, Jurickson, Profar.
Yes. Love it.
Just put him right on top.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it's good.
Keep the good times rolling.
Make them see him the most,
Yes.
Manny was great, too, after the game. Manny said something along the lines of, like, he was like, Jurickson Profar, he likes to win. Then he's like, he really doesn't like to lose. He repeated it like 3 times, and it's like, that is true. He does not like to lose. Where's Manny hitting? Third and playing DH because Angie Rosario is in the lineup. Here's the lineup. Okay. Profar, Solano at first. No Arise today. Profar, Solano, Machado, DH. Crony at second. Kim batting 5th. Merrill in center hitting 6th. Rosario at third base batting 7th. And then Higashioka and our new right fielder, Bryce Johnson, who apparently plays every day. So unless we learn anything else, this probably could be a good time for Arise to get 2 days off in a row. So they have a day off tomorrow. So probably maybe a time for him to get off his feet a little bit. Manny, we got to talk about Manny a little because I think that the leadership that comes with Manny was apparent last night. Let's talk about it after this timeout. 10:21, Annie and Elsten rollicking. This show's going to be over before you know it. Yeah. It's just going to be 12:05 and the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show with Sammy Levitt before you know it. So stay tuned for all the fun right here on 97.3 The Fan.
Some days are just really fun to come in and do this job, and today is obviously one of those days, Annie.
A 2-hour show after a game like last night.
Yeah.
It's
Come
a
on.
dream right now.
Come on.
It's a disservice. We could have spent 4 hours on this.
Absolutely.
You are correct, but we've got the round table tomorrow.
Yeah.
True.
Commercial free. I don't see that one in our rundown here. So just a reminder, tomorrow, 10 to 11, commercial free during this time tomorrow. It'll be the 97.3 The Fan Roundtable with Annie and I, and with Ben and Woods, and with Chris, because Tony will be on a plane.
Yeah, they'll already have gone to Boston today.
Right.
Shipping up to Boston.
They will ship up and ship out.
Whoa.
So that will be tomorrow, live and commercial free, presented by San Diego Roundtable, the last honest pizza. So check that out tomorrow. What I'm supposed to tell you here is to join Brett Boone and his big league friends on his podcast, The Boone Podcast, where 3 days a week he speaks with Hall of Famers, fellow All-Stars, and friends to get their take on today's game and relive their greatest stories from when they played. Follow The Boone Podcast in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Okay. Manny. What a moment for Manny.
What a moment for Manny. What a signature moment for Manny. We've talked about this. I know we've talked about this. There are different kinds of leadership. And Manny is vocal. He is in guys' ears, and he is doing his part to help the younger players and talk in meetings and hold player meetings and be a leader off the field in that sense. But where Manny really shines, and I know you've said posting, being on the field, right? Getting on the field, and 100% playing hurt, and what he did last night. Because you're right, not only did he get in the middle of it, like he made sure to get in the middle of Profar and Ruiz and be the first guy out there to go, hey, let's not keep doing this, all right? But then he goes out and he hits the home run. And to me, like, that is leadership right there. You're not going to need to hit a homer every time. And I love what Jackson Merrill said. I'm going to read it here in a second. But the fact that he did is, like, beautiful, right? Like, that's just cinema, like you said. But just, he let his play do the talking. He went out there. He settled in. He knew Mackenzie Gore was going to be flustered after everything that happened. He found his pitch. He hit it. And that is just, to me, it's like that. And then he lets Profar around the bases after that whole brouhaha. And Profar is like all animated, I mean, look, they were really animated on that home run. Okay, like let's be real.
Yeah, they were. That was one of the most pimped homers for June 25th in history.
Profar's like dusting Manny's shoulders off,
Yeah.
and it's like, hey, great. All right,
I mean, Manny,
it's great.
as we'll hear Bob Carpenter cry about on the Nationals TV call later, Manny did walk the entire first base line, doing a number of things, wiping off the Padres logo and everything else.
Manny, I love it. Did he blow any bubbles? Did anybody see it?
I don't believe he blew a bubble.
Well, he also has to help his hip flexor. So I think that he was also strategically not running in that moment. I'm just kidding there, but all right. So Manny, great. I love it. Okay. But after the game, Jurickson Profar, he says this quote, and it has like 3 expletives in it. So I'll keep those out, all right? I'll just say effing. That's how you effing lead, center fielder Jackson Merrill said. I'm not saying he had to hit a homer, but right there off the bat, effing first pitch, ready to go. That's how you effing lead right there. That's effing electric. When you are a guy like Jackson Merrill and you are part of a clubhouse, and by the way, Jackson Merrill, I talked to him pregame yesterday and I was like, hey, nice, great walk-off. How fun for you guys, blah, blah, blah. You know what he says to me? He goes, we played S.
Yeah.
He goes, we played really poor.
Well, he's right.
And he goes, and I was like, what? Come on. I'm like, and he was right. And I go, you mean like the 19 outs, and he goes, he says, we didn't play up to our standard. We did not play our brand of baseball. When you have a 21-year-old kid who does not feel out of place and should not feel out of place at all in that clubhouse. So he's saying those comments pregame, like, hey, I love that everybody loved that walk-off. That was great. That was fun. We played like S, okay? But then you have postgame, him seeing what Manny did. Manny just let his play do the talking. It wasn't about the words. It wasn't about anything else. It was let's go out there, let's produce. And I think that sort of thing can really go a long way when it kind of spreads throughout a clubhouse. And you have those different types of leadership that are permeating through.
I couldn't agree more. And it is one of the ways that Manny will show up and show out, as he let his elite talent speak in a, let's call it, a big brother moment.
Yeah.
That's a big brother moment right there. You're the superstar. You're the big man. You're literally like the tallest, the biggest guy. You're there and you say, Jurickson, I got you. Pow, Mac, I got you into the upper deck.
Yeah.
And then, they went around the bases crazy slow, crazy happy. And Fernando Tatis Jr., injured, summoned the entire team college softball World Series style to all come out in front of the dugout and greet Manny when he came around.
I'm seeing a few comments of like, they always celebrate. No, this was different because of what you just said. They all came out of the dugout. First started by Tatis. He summoned everyone. Like you just mentioned, they all formed this circle, and they were on the literal track. I mean, they were in front of the dugout. That's different than any other home run celebration.
That's what you see college teams do in the College World Series. That's what you see college softball teams do, is they all gather around as a group and greet the person who hit a homer.
There you go.
But you see that in the pros in Game 7 of the World Series. Yes. You see that in the game that clinches your playoff berth or something like that. You rarely see it at the end of June and in the middle of the season, which you understand. Like, I hope we all understand as Padres fans why some people don't like this team from the outside.
Oh, Michael King said it really well, I think, earlier this season. He's like, from across the field when he was with the Yankees, he didn't like Tatis. He thought it was too much showboating and that type of mentality and now he loves him. He's like, I see how hard the guy works. I see what he's all about. It's amazing. But yeah, if you're another team or another fan base, you're looking and being like, bro, did you just win the World Series?
Right. Yeah. Oh, wait. You're now 2 games over 500 with your big homer. You always got to look at things from both sides. It's very easy to be provincial and to only accept your set of facts. Like, when you look at everything from both sides, you kind of understand it a lot more. And that's why I really say, like, the Padres lived up to every aspect of it. Profar 100% put it in the Nationals' face on Monday night. 100% deserved to get dotted yesterday. Got dotted. The umpire screwed it up. He should have run Gore. He didn't run Gore. And then at that moment, Manny Machado went vigilante justice. He's like, I'll take it into my own hands, not by throwing my bat at the pitcher, but by throwing my bat at the ball and putting the ball into the upper deck. And then when the Nationals came back, the Padres didn't. Oh, well, now we're going to throw a Jesse Winker. Oh, well, now we're going to do this. Now we're going to, all grumble and mentally fold and roll through the game. They rallied against Gore. They knocked Gore out of the game by making him the losing pitcher on that night, and he stayed the losing pitcher.
Yeah, and they also just played the hand that they were dealt. I mean, there was no whining. There was no, well, that isn't fair. He should be out of the game. I mean, there was obviously. Schilt said his piece, and he should have. Schilt, that was well within his means to be like, why isn't this guy getting yanked out of the game right now? Why is there even a pause? Why is there even a decision having to be made here? This should be like immediate. And so I completely understand where he's coming from on that, because it's a bad look. If the warnings are issued and you don't yank him right away, it just is a bad look. Where's the line? Where's it going to be next time? But yeah, I mean, look, there's so many different types of leaders in a clubhouse. It's not just Manny. It's Joe. It's Jake. It's Profar. It's even a little bit Jurickson, right? I mean, sorry, it's definitely Profar. A little bit Jackson Merrill, as much as he can
He's
be for a
becoming
rookie.
one, that's
he
for
really
sure.
is. I asked him about that too, and he was like, I don't talk with my words. I talk with my play. He's all about action. He's like, I talk with my action.
Jackson.
Yes, and so that's the kind of guy that really you want, and you have all kinds of different leaders in the clubhouse. But let me just say that the ones that have the most weight sometimes are the ones that are producing the most. Like Jurickson Profar, his message, he could have delivered the same message a year ago or 2 years ago, but if he was slumping, it just wouldn't necessarily be received the way that it is going to be received right now. When he stands in the clubhouse now and he's like, we have a different gear, we're not playing our best baseball, we're about to slip into what happened last year, it hits different. When you're leading baseball in all these offensive categories, or leading the National League in top 5 in baseball in all these offensive categories, which is what he is right now. So it's remarkable, really, what he's doing. But yeah, I think that there were a lot of things that maybe you could take from last night that I don't know if they'll continue. Like, I don't, there's a lot of talk of like, is this the defining moment? Maybe. I mean, we'll have to look back on that and see.
Precisely.
But
Precisely correct, Andy.
yeah, but like at the same time, I think that they should have celebrated yesterday. Like I don't begrudge them at all for the types of celebrations that they had. Like if that brings them closer as a team and that makes them feel like they're going to be able to knock out this second half in a stronger, more united way, then that's awesome.
Well, the way to do that is to go out there and beat them today. That's the way to do it, is to go out there and beat them today, because the Padre way of the last few years has been to have this moment, back it up with a loss, go on the road, lose again, and then you're right back at 500, and all the excitement of the last 2 days is just washed out by 2 nondescript losses. And then you're like, oh, well, there we are, 500 once again. Yeah, we've had so many great games this year. Honest to goodness.
Yeah.
There's been a season's worth of highlight reel, incredible moments for this Padres team. And they're 2 games over 500. So if you really want to make this, and I do, I want this to be the moment that we look back on literally in October and say this was the moment. This was the galvanizing moment for this team where they really did come together with everything, by the way, with everything else going against them. With Tatis on the disabled list for God knows how long,
Yeah.
Darvish away for God knows how long, Musgrove away for God knows how long, Arise playing hurt, Profar himself playing hurt, Manny himself playing hurt. This moment occurs, this team wins through this adversity. This team wins on a day when a rookie is giving up 4 runs in 5 innings on the mound. That's a game they've lost all year. They won this one. Amazing. But what did we talk about at the end of the 5-game losing streak? That circular meme, right? Win enough games to get over 500. Let's go on a run. Lose enough games to fall back to 500. What's the matter with our team? We're still on that cycle until we break the cycle. So until I see a sweep and then go to Boston and keep it going and keep rolling and roll to the All-Star break, then I'll know that cycle's broken.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable that like you didn't. Obviously, you're going to miss Fernando Tatis Jr. and you're going to miss Yu Darvish, but through this homestand, you haven't felt those injuries yet. You haven't really. They've
Correct.
been. It's really honestly kind of remarkable. You haven't felt. You almost feel like they're just getting days off right now. And the rest of the team has been able to get these wins off, and so it's going to be a challenging road. They had a 1-5 road trip last time. So now you got to go back out right after today. You got to hit Boston. You got to hit Texas. It's not going to be, again, it's not going to be easy at all. So I think we're going to have to learn a lot about the resiliency going from series to series to series, maybe over the next week or two. And then despite all of the challenges, like you said, that they're having with injuries, and what is AJ Preller going to do? I mean, you're hearing more and more reports that he's on the hunt aggressively. He knows, I don't have time. He doesn't have time to wait around to the trade deadline.
Who does?
So I think we're going to talk about Jesse Winker, but can I just say this? After the game, Jesse Winker said, quote, "The fans are passionate about their team. It's their only team in the city, I believe. They sell out every night."
Thanks, Jess. Appreciate you.
Only team in the city, I believe.
Yeah.
They sell out every night.
Yeah. Got it, Jesse. Feel you, man. Feel you. Yeah. Yeah, Jesse Winker's been hearing it, and he's been giving it back, and he's been an idiot in doing it. We got to take a break, and I really want to hammer Jim Schlossnagel when we come back. But we got like a minute here. Let's put this video up. This was Jesse Winker Monday night. Like this, just to give you an idea, this guy was perfect central casting to be the villain in our little sports movie.
Do you want to watch
from
it on
yesterday?
mute?
Sure.
Do we know about any?
I'm pretty sure I watched it. I'm pretty sure there's no curse words in this. It's a polite 66-year-old Padres fan telling Jesse Winker. Jesse Winker's in his face. Look, this is after the game. The game's over. People are pointing forward, celebrating.
This is Monday night.
Winker's talking with his fan, saying the fan is gesturing, saying, "Don't go up and in. That's not all right." He says, "That's Bush League. That's Bush League." And then Winker gets into him, like literally leaning in. He goes, "I'm 66. You're 26?" That's what the fan says. And then Winker walks away.
I heard from a few of their reporters, the Washington reporters, that they are learning Jesse Winker. He's new to the team.
Yeah.
They're learning him. And it was said to me, he's real competitive.
He got run out of Seattle.
He's real competitive. This 66-year-old guy, though, listen, stop trying to act like he's this, unable to fight for himself 66-year-old man. He is giving it right there to Jesse Winker. He sends this petty talk sign as Winker walks away. Look, it's weird for Jesse Winker to go in the stands and talk to a fan, but at the same time I'm like, all right, well, they felt like they had to have a little conversation, and I think it's weird, but at the same time I don't hate it. Like, the fan was giving it right back to him, man. I didn't hate it. I thought it was just weird.
It is weird. It's like, the fan had to have said something first to get him over there.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, he didn't what did he just single out that guy and just
No,
start
he was
yelling
ripping
at
the
him?
Nationals for throwing in
Right.
on
So
profile.
this-
You don't do that.
Fan wasn't this genteel, gentle little. I mean, I love. Listen, if you're listening, I love you, man. Like, you're, like he's given it. He's given his mind, as he should, as a fan.
100%.
But he was holding his own right there. He was giving it right back to Jesse.
That was great.
I just don't understand what he was. It's not like he said anything super outlandish, because we would have heard about it too. Like, Winker would have said, he called me this or he said that. But he didn't say that, because that wasn't the case. So it's like, why are you wasting your time talking to a fan anyway?
You've already lost.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I feel like he's in his head
get
too
it.
much. I feel like Jesse Winker might be in his head too much.
I remember saying at some point earlier in my son's life, if you're in an argument with a 6-year-old, you've already lost.
That's true.
That
is true.
And it's also,
Yeah.
if you're in an argument with a fan behind your dugout, you have already lost. Get out of there, dude.
I
Why do you care
know.
what that fan thinks, especially as an opposing fan? Why are you engaging? I don't get it.
Maybe
Oh,
trying to
Jesse
grow the game of
Winker.
baseball, trying to let the fan know, hey, this is what we're trying to do. I was told he really feels strongly about his teammates and having their back, very
Sure.
competitive.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know, does he do this in every stadium? I would like a
The
compilation.
Mariners hated him. By the way, the Mariners couldn't stand him. The Reds got rid of him. He's had a good year in his career, and he's having a good year this year. He's on one of my fantasy
hit the
teams.
home run last night.
He's got an
Yeah.
on-base percentage close to 400. He's having a good year.
Can't wait
this
for the
year.
Padres to trade for him.
That
Yeah, he comes
the
on
Winker
team.
fam platoon
You
coming
do a little,
soon.
You do a little content with him and the fan when you
Yes.
sign him.
That'd be hilarious.
We used to be enemies, but now we're friends.
Now we're buddies.
We're on the same
Could
side.
you imagine
Not
the
your buddy,
Winker
pal.
fam platoon out there
That'd be
in right
amazing.
field, and we're just like,
He leads it with
I
a big
guess,
sign.
I guess we love you now. I guess. All right, let's come back after this. When are people gonna learn? When are people gonna learn in positions of authority just not to be outright I've said it again, dead. You're dead inside when you are ripping someone with a knowing lie. With a knowing lie. When you are knowing that you are lying while you are simultaneously pretending to be offended and sanctimonious.
I would not want my kid to play for that guy.
Jim Schlossnagel, you're in the target next. Annie and Elsten on the Fan. So if you missed it, Annie and Elsten here with you on the Fan. If you missed it, the College World Series was played. Tennessee took on Texas A&M. Tennessee won in the third game. Exciting World Series. And Texas A&M was eliminated as the national runners-up. The head coach of Texas A&M baseball, Jim Schlossnagle, who used to be for many years at Braden's alma mater, TCU, as their head coach.
Was there when I was there?
And when I was covering the Aztecs, he was there. In 2009, when Strasburg was an Aztec, Schlossnagle was there, and his team was beating the Aztecs. Well, there were rumors all through college baseball heading into the final game that Jim Schlossnagle was about to be leaving Texas A&M to go to UT, to go to Texas. And in the post-game press conference, as you have to do, a young reporter from a college outlet covering the World Series asked Jim Schlossnagle in a very polite way the question that has to be asked, and this was the response.
Coach, with respect to the difficult outcome tonight, but with the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggieland?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Right.
Ew, you're so ew.
It's so ridiculous.
It's so cringe.
I know they just lost, but still, it's like, dude, there's such a... Their PR staff's not training any of their guys anymore. I mean, come on. Like, we, off air, all gave better answers than he did.
The question had to be asked. He could have answered it. We see coaches every week answer that same question in a very professional, very vague way. Everyone understands when they take the job the next day that they couldn't say maybe specifically what their plans were, but you just say, Braden said it in the break. Right, Braden, what was your response? I thought it was really good.
I basically said, like, it's tough. We just lost the national championship. I got to say, we got to wrap this up and say bye to my guys. And, tomorrow we'll reevaluate of where everybody's going to be. But as of right now, I'm still the head coach of Texas A&M. I mean, it's simple.
Yeah.
But to
Or
wear
say,
down,
hey, I'll have something to say tomorrow. I have
That's
nothing
it.
to say today.
But to wear down a college kid
Yeah.
and call him selfish
Right.
and say he's unfair, that is manipulating this whole situation, and it's gross.
It's
And
disgusting.
why would you even want that? Like, why would you want that around? Like that, it was just. Ugh.
It's disgusting because he knew that he had not only already agreed to become Texas's head coach, and he knew he would be introduced literally the next day in Austin at a press conference that he had agreed to fly to and go to, that he goes through the whole thing of not just answering it in any other way, but to say, I left my family with the intent of never taking another job. Well, then
You're a liar.
you've changed your intent. Obviously.
He obviously didn't like being at A&M. This is from 2023 when they played Portland, about the way the fans treated his own players.
Let me hear it.
It's just, this is a tough game, man. People, I got our own fans yelling at our players over the dugout. Like, I don't know what kind of place this is, but I thought there was some Aggie loyalty around here. Got a dude holding up a freaking newspaper, one of the dance teams over on the other side. Like, I don't know. I need to keep my mouth shut, but...
You didn't keep your mouth shut,
Didn't
Jim
work out.
Schlossnagle.
How'd that work out for you?
He obviously didn't like being at A&M, which as a TCU fan is just hilarious to me. But you had here's the introductory press conference, if I can get it up before we go to break. But again, Chris Del Conte, CDC, he was our athletic director at TCU at the same time that Schlossnagle was the head coach. They obviously had a relationship, and this obviously was been in the works probably a lot longer than you think.
Yeah, and
There would never be a time that I wasn't invested in that program. And there never was a time I wasn't invested. I gave when I say our staff, we gave everything we possibly could to win that last ball game.
Good for you, Jim. He apologized. He did mention the reporter by name, but he gave himself an excuse, and then he walked off of it.
Jim, you're soft.
You're so soft, bro.
It's so ridiculous.
You should coach the Nationals. Back with hour number 2 next on The Fan. Padres Deep Dive Hour, think of it as your pre-game show for Padres baseball today as the Friars look for the sweep and look for a 6-1 homestand before they head out to the East Coast. Annie and Elsten here with you, rolling till 12:05. We'll have a bonus 5 minutes on top of our 2-hour program before we give things off to Sam Levitt and the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show live from the loft inside the Western Metal Supply Company building inside Petco Park. That'll get started at 12:10. First pitch at 1:10. Dylan Cease. Great day to turn it around if you're Dylan Cease today.
Had a more Dylan Cease-like start last time, but still, I believe, only fifth inning. I didn't even look that up. I think he got through the fifth.
He did not finish the fifth.
Did not finish the fifth.
He struck out 10, but he gave up 4 runs. It was a struggle for Dylan Cease. Again, it's been a struggle for 8 starts now for Dylan Cease.
So we want that to go back to the Dylan Cease that we saw more so at the beginning of the season. He felt like after the last start that he was finding something again, that he was getting back to where he needed to be. So hopefully that last start maybe was a little bit of a springboard, and this start today, maybe riding on the high of everything that's come the last few days, and also watching these hitters for the last 2 nights. He's coming into this game maybe feeling pretty good about it.
With the Padres now 2 games over 500, and we certainly hope to get on that roll that we've been looking for forever, right? To get away from the gravitational pull of 500, to pull away and never be 500 again, to just get out there in that winning green pasture. We're dreaming of that. Plenty of teams are dreaming of it. There are 9 teams in a pack within about 4 games of one another for the 5th through 13th place in the National League.
I mean, think about it, though. Think about the 1-5 road trip. Okay, if they go back out and they have another like clunker road trip, and the Nationals have a good homestand,
they'll
you're
just pass
right
us.
back where you started. Like you flip flop, and so you're in a stage where now you get your 2.5, whatever they are now.
Yeah, they are 2.5 up.
Yeah.
They are 2.5 up. I was looking at this last night, but with their wins, the Padres now have a 1.5 game lead on the pack. The trail pack.
Okay.
And 2.5 over specifically the Nationals and a couple other teams. And then like the Cubs right now are at the bottom of the trail pack, but they're still no more than 4 games out.
Right. It's still pretty bunched up, but a good time to get ahead.
It really is.
It's always a good time.
It's always a good time. And we are now within shouting range of the end of next month, right? We're at the end of this month. The end of next month will be the trade deadline. And obviously, A.J. Preller has made the 2 biggest trades of 2024 already. 2 deals that happened at essentially the end of spring training and in the first 2 months of the season, which would have been considered trade deadline superstar moves, getting Dylan Cease, who we just mentioned, and getting Luis Ariz. But now, do the Padres have another big move in them? Or could they maybe make a slightly more tailored move to try and help bolster this roster and make it to the playoffs? We talked some trade deadline chatter yesterday, Annie, with the Athletics, Ken Rosenthal piece. Let's go to Jeff Passan, the guy that we always, if he tweets it, we believe it, right? Jeff Passan, a day ago, put out on ESPN Plus his trade deadline top additions for all contenders. He looked at all the teams that are contending and looking to add, and he thought who out there would be a good fit on the market for this team, looking beyond pure clickbaity to try and really kind of come up with some solutions. So shall we start with his thought on the Padres?
Of course.
Right. That's where we got to start. What do they need? Starting pitching, of course. Yeah, we know. We know.
Who does it?
Everyone needs starting pitching. I can't emphasize this enough. Every team in baseball needs starting pitching. There's nothing more expensive than starting pitching at the trade deadline. There's nothing you overpay for more than starting pitching at the trade deadline.
And teams licking their chops knowing that they have someone they can move and what they could get back in return, especially if they're out of the race.
That's why, according to yesterday's report in The Athletic, bolstered by Kevin Acee today.
I was just bringing that up. Yeah.
That when they started talking to the White Sox, we're interested in Garrett Crochet. Maybe we want Crochet and Kopech, or maybe we'd be interested in Pham. That the first response was, yeah, cool, that kid in center field looks good. How about you trade us Jackson Merrill? Well, what? You don't want that? How about Leo DeVries? How about Ethan Salas? How about both of them? we'll take both of those guys, and then we'll give you whoever you want off of our roster.
Do the White Sox know what they have?
I don't think they do.
I don't think they do either. I think they might be disappointed at the trade deadline because I don't think anybody's given up those versions of those players from other teams.
True.
For those players.
But remember, Braden, what we talked about yesterday, if you're the White Sox GM and A.J. Preller's coming to you today,
Now.
5
Yes.
weeks before the deadline, and saying, I need this trade, you not only have to make the best trade possible for your organization,
Oh, you got to ask for the world.
you have to make a trade better than any possible trade that would be there 5 weeks later.
There is a little risk always for the White Sox too, though, that Crochet could have some arm injury or
Sure.
in the next 5 weeks. So it's a little balancing act. But I agree, you're too far out right now from the trade deadline, and he's pitching well, right? He's pitching really well.
Yeah.
So you ask for the world. I know in AC's newsletter today, he writes, it isn't known exactly what could get the deal done for Crochet, except that the White Sox have talked about prospects the Padres consider untouchable. So presumably Salas or DeVries. The White Sox set the tone for the talks when early on in the process, they asked for Jackson Merrill.
I mean, that's
right.
just it's standard negotiating procedure, and then you go like, all right, well, we could do this, and they're like, well, how about this? And then
Yeah.
start it now, start the negotiating now. But I look at that and I immediately go like, they're not going to give those guys up for that player, and people, there's a lot of people that see those names and start freaking out like, oh, we're never going to be able to get this guy because that's what they want. It's not the case. I mean, they're going to, of course, they're going to ask for the best player.
But
and then what happens when Jeff Passan tweets out the trade? You go, wait, who are these guys? I don't know who these guys are. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go. Sounds good. Great.
Yeah.
Kurt.
Well, the thing is,
Yeah.
we traded pretty much all of those guys in the Arise and Sea Steals. Who was that again? Iriarte, I forget. Thorpe, barely knew him, right? Martorella, Head, like Marcy. I guess I heard about Marcy on the radio a couple times. But those were all the guys that I think, Braden, you're referring to. Like those, you're not going to miss them.
Isn't there like the Lesko or the who's in there right now?
Right,
That's like,
yeah, you're down to the bare now.
Okay.
You're down to your top five.
Was Mazer part of that group?
He was number
before?
5 on that group.
Right. I mean, social media is ridiculous, but people are like ready to just send him to the moon after like 3 or 4 starts in the big leagues. It's like, oh, he's not the guy anymore.
El Paso's pretty close to the moon, yeah.
But I'm saying it's like,
No,
that guy was
Mazer's-
supposed to be one of the chosen ones, and he's off to a rough start. So you're basically exchanging the young, figure out how to pitch in the major league years of those guys for the 3 or 4 years or whatever, the 1 or 2. I think Crochet's got 2 years on his
He's
on
got
his
2
deal.
years.
Yeah.
left,
You get 2
yeah.
years of a proven major leaguer that's not learning how to pitch at the big leagues. That's basically what you're exchanging for.
You can't throw the towel in on Mazer. I mean, you can trade him obviously, but like please don't.
No, I
Whoever's
wouldn't-
watching his starts over the last 5, you are not getting a true indication of what he's going to be once he settles in. I know
agree-
you're not saying that.
I agree, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like, not all of the.
No, you can
these,
trade him.
right?
But like, yeah,
because it's just those were the guys that were like, oh, we can't send this guy away, and then he makes 3 starts, and everybody's like, we got to trade this guy. It's like so ridiculous through overreactions.
Right. But what they've
100%.
done though is they've stirred up the interest, right? Because now you have the Dodgers. You have,
Yeah.
is it the Mariners? Who was the other team?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Those are the 3 teams that the White Sox are scouting right now.
So you have other teams that are like, well, now the White Sox get to be like, well, this guy's going to give me this, or this guy's, they get to start to kind of use it to their advantage if the teams stay interested.
How much do you? I'm gonna ask Craig and you this. How much do you value on the MLB.com prospect top 30 list for each team? How much do you value the estimated time of arrival stat line?
I mean, in terms of believing, what do you mean?
Because they have everybody's estimated time of arrival to the big leagues.
Sure.
In the top 30, right? So Ethan Salas is listed as 2025. I think that's kind of early.
No, it's 2026.
Is that what you think it is?
I
or-
think that's what it is.
I'm
That's
looking
me.
at it.
I'm now writing it down
Right,
myself.
but they say 2025, right? Snelling 25, Lesko 26,
What do they know?
DeVries 28. I mean,
just a
give or
guess.
take a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
But to me, I look at that and go, some of these guys you could probably part ways with that are expected to show up in like 2028 and just be like, we want you have to live by the philosophy of these are good players that we are trying to acquire, and these are good players that we're sending away. Because you have to give up something good to get something good in return. Who gives you a better chance of winning over the next 3 years between those players would be my my philosophy on that. And if you think the current major league staff that you would acquire is better, I think that's the better decision moving forward. But if you think, a guy like Ethan Salas, which I do believe, is going to help the ball club up over the next 5 years, that's somebody you can't part ways with. And I think we've talked about this. Preller's done a pretty good job of keeping said guys in that group.
Yeah, he doesn't want to move off the ones that he actually believes to be good. The first example of that was Mackenzie Gore. He didn't trade Mackenzie Gore in about 2 or 3 different seasons when he was coming through the minor leagues where he could have gotten something great or even the best thing at the deadline because he didn't want to make that trade. C.J. Abrams was the next of those guys, and James Wood was the third of those guys. He wasn't going to trade those players. Who did he wind up trading all 3 of those players for? Literally a future Hall of Famer, Juan Soto. So that tells you really where, in my mind, that tells you how Preller operates. He's willing to trade everything underneath his elite level to get the stuff he needs year by year to help the team. But for the truly elite slice, it's only going to be for players who he believes are of like value. And remember, when they traded for Soto, they thought they were going to be able to sign Juan Soto. They made that trade intending to sign Juan Soto. And things happen.
And he technically would still be part of the org if they didn't trade him again, which is, 2.5 years of control, which makes sense. I mean, and there's nobody like that out there right now anyway.
No.
So I don't think they're going to trade Salas or DeVries for anybody. If I had to pick between the two, it'd probably be I'd have to probably trade DeVries at this point in time just because he's 17 years old.
I would agree with that.
But I wouldn't want to. I mean, I don't want to at all.
No.
But if I had to pick, it would be him because
they have
Ethan
so many
Salas.
shortstops anyways.
Well, shortstops are a dime a dozen. And he's only 17. Who knows when he's going to come up? And Ethan Salas has the ability to be what I like to call a unicorn, which is catchers that can hit and catch.
Yeah.
Even though his stats right now are not that great. But he's playing way above where he should be as a catcher, as a minor leaguer at how old is he? 19?
He's 18 years old. He's playing in a league where the average age is over 22. So it's essentially being a freshman playing seniors. Is
he should
what
have been in high
Salas
school
is doing.
at the beginning of this year, right?
Correct.
At the beginning of the season. He should have been graduating high school. Instead, he's playing guys that have already graduated high school, and some of them played college ball. And
Salas has some intangibles, too. I mean, you've heard his press conferences or when he's talked to media. The guy's smart. He's smart. Not that Leo DeVries isn't, but you can tell he's wise beyond his years.
Right.
He's bilingual. He's able to, he understands pitching staffs and how he's got to interact with them. He seems to possess skills that make it seem like he will be okay progressing kind of quickly.
The trade Jeff Passan has proposed for the Padres, I don't think it's realistic at all. We'll get to it right after this timeout on the Padres Deep Dive Hour. You're listening to Annie and Elsten. And by the way, for the first time, we'd like to welcome a Padres Deep Dive Hour sponsor.
Hey.
Padres Deep Dive Hour brought to you by the Frozen Ropes Baseball and Softball Summer League. Now registering softball players age 6 through 12. 6 practices and 6 games. Improve your skills and make it a Frozen Ropes summer. Visit SanDiegoFrozenRopes.com for more information. We'll bring you that trade proposal when we come back right here on 97.3 The Fan. Padre fans, let's make sure our Padres are represented in Texas at the All-Star Game.
Jerks and Profar.
And Luis Ariz. Fernando Tatis has a chance to be named a starter. He won't be there to play. But you can vote up to 5 times per day at Padres.com/All-Star. Voting ends tomorrow, so now's the time.
Also, little update from on the field right now. Xander Bogaerts hitting, which is a good sign. He's been progressing. He's healing, I would say, a little bit ahead of schedule probably. So shouldn't be like too much longer now that he's starting baseball activity. And then Joe Musgrove throwing from 120 feet, which is also a good sign. Joe talked a lot. He's still a ways out.
Yeah.
He talked in depth the other day about it. He's still a ways out, but these are good stepping stones to take. And he's going to reformat kind of how he's doing his conditioning and is trying to get back in this rehab where he's throwing a little further out and not throwing with such intensity so close as he prepares to get back on the mound because it's less stress on his arm. So he's got a plan here.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not counting on him for another inning this year. I'm not. If he
shows
up, now I didn't be careful. I didn't
Okay.
say I don't expect him to pitch another inning this year. I said I'm not counting on it.
You don't think he's going to?
I'm not counting on it. If you're the Padres, you can't count on it. You can hope for it. You can hope he progresses. You can listen to the doctors and trainers. But in reality, we've seen this so many times before, Annie. Throwing from 60 feet, throwing from 120 feet, long toss, bullpen. Until you are on the mound, spinning the ball, throwing at maximum effort, and then feeling how your body responds the next day and a week later, you have no idea. Garrett Cole came back from his elbow issue for the Yankees. He spent 3 months out. He did every one of these things that we're talking about. And he had one start that looked okay, but his fastball was 3 miles lower than its normal velocity. He went out yesterday, gave up 4 home runs, and didn't strike out a single batter, and was throwing in the low 90s. This is just an example of another guy who told reporters for weeks and weeks and months, I'm on progression, I'm on track, I'm doing everything right. The body lets you know, the velocity lets you know, and the hitters let you know. And because of all of that and what's happened with Joe this year, and because of everything we're even still talking about, the Padres' clear focus on starting pitching in the trade market, you wouldn't do that if you thought with confidence that you, Darvish, and Joe Musgrove were going to be in your rotation all in the second half.
I get what you're saying, and you're correct. Like, you got to get to that point. He's still a ways away from that point. He's ramping things up slowly, and it's going to take a while. Like you said, you got to see how you feel after. You're going to have some days that you feel a little too stiff, and you got to take another day or two off. Or it's not going to be a linear. It's very rarely a linear path. It's a step forward, a little step back, more steps forward. But it's still, for now, the promise for him that he can get back on the field and he's doing all the right things and putting together the right plan to get himself to that point. Whether it happens or not, who knows? But he's in that timeline right now. He's working those steps.
Yeah,
he's working his steps.
The thing you know about him more than anything else is that he's going to give it his absolute all to do the best he can for this organization. I think he knows that ever since kind of almost the day he signed his contract, that it's been one thing after another for the last 2 years for Joe Musgrove. I wish him absolutely nothing but the best, but you got to think, and we're kind of in a trade discussion portion of the deep dive here, you have to think in a way where you don't count on it. Because if you write in, we're going to get 60 innings from Joe Musgrove, and that's why we don't pursue X, Y, or Z, and then you don't get those innings, they're going to be filled by Adam Mazur or Johnny Brito or someone else, like guaranteed.
Correct. That's why Johnny Brito is in AAA now.
Yep.
He's in El Paso, and he is working on being stretched out as a starter because they are likely going to need him.
Jeff Passan thinks a different starter than what's been on the radar could be the Padres' acquisition. And I said going to break, I'll say walking right into this, I don't think this is going to happen. But his pick was Mets right-hander Luis Severino.
I found this interesting. I don't think it's going to happen either.
Why are the Mets are a game and a half behind the Padres? They're 1 game under 500, and they are 1.5 games out of a playoff spot right now. They're 2 games out of the 5th spot in the playoffs. They're only 5.5 games behind the Braves, for God's sakes, in the NL East standings. So why are the Mets going to trade Luis Severino on a 1-year contract where you're not going to get a lot for him? He got paid $13 million this year. He's halfway through that, right? So you'd either be sending money in the deal if you're New York to get a prospect and to have Severino get paid nothing by the Padres, or you're giving him over at salary and you're getting almost nothing back for him. I do not understand the logic behind even thinking the Mets are going to make a trade.
I don't understand this one either. And sometimes, I mean, Passan's really, really good, but sometimes when he does these overarching MLB ones, I find that he's a little out of touch maybe.
Yeah.
Now, what I say that and watch tomorrow, they get Luis Severino, so who knows. But I feel like it's going to, AJ Preller can't wait that long. Like, say the Mets do want to let go of Severino. I don't feel like AJ Preller can afford to wait until that time is. Like you said, they're still in it right now. They might fall. They might get to be out of it by the trade deadline. But I don't think Preller can wait that long, A. And then B, I don't know that it's a great match anyways for all the reasons you just said.
Yeah, I just don't understand it at all on the Mets side. At all. I understand it from the Padres side. Of course, you'd want to get Luis Severino. He's pitched well. He's got an ERA about 3.5. He's pitched almost 100 innings. He's got a history of being good. You'd get him for very inexpensive. He'd be a pure rental, so you don't have to worry about your development of your other younger guys next year, et cetera, et cetera. You probably wouldn't have to give up a Robbie Snelling or a Dylan Lesko.
Right, because he has so little time left.
Or even a Major. It'd be what Braden was talking about, giving up somebody that you're not going to really miss or that has an ETA of 3-4 years from now. All of that makes sense if the Mets play themselves out of the race, which you'd have to wait for that to happen. However, I do want to not push back, but just suggest that what the Padres want and what baseball is willing to give them can very well be two different things. Because unless you truly are going to trade Leo DeVries, I don't think anyone's going to trade Ethan Salas. Unless you really are going to do that, or trade Snelling, trade Lesko, trade both of them, I'm sorry, how are you going to overpay the market right now? The Dodgers are out there, the Yankees are out there, the Cubs are out there. There's so many teams with flush farm systems are out there. When you're asking for a starting pitcher, you're bidding against everybody. I can't say that enough. If you're looking for a platoon right fielder, if you're looking for a guy to hit against lefties, if you're looking for the third reliever in your bullpen, you can go find those things. If you're looking for a starting pitcher, you are bidding against the market.
No, I agree. I mean, and especially at this time of the year when so many guys are in the thick of the race, and that you get to dangle the guy that you have. You get to wait and take your little sweet time because you still have really, the benefit of the trade deadline coming around the corner that's going to heat everything up. So for a lot of these GMs, it's just it's a matter of kind of the checkers or the chess game, right? And negotiating, like Braden said, you're starting the conversations, you're seeing who's got what, you're letting teams know, no, and that's not enough, and then you're letting another team know that this guy's got interest in this person, and you're putting all those cards out. But if you have a good starting pitcher, it's imperative for you as the GM to get a good haul back, or as good of a haul as you think you can get for a guy. And right now it's just too early to be like, let's just let guys go, when we know that there's so many different competitive teams trying to get to these guys.
Right.
The only thing that makes sense for me with any of these trades of giving away these prospects would be acquiring guys that gives you 2 years to 3 years of control in some sort of fashion, because that it makes sense to part ways with Snelling and Lesko to get a couple of years of a pitcher, because they're supposed to help facilitate your rotation in the next couple of years. A guy like Luis Severino, see, that would be, to me, that's a foolish trade for the Padres, where trading any of these top prospects would be a waste of your time, because not only is he getting $13 million this year, which again would be prorated, it would probably take up most of your budget because they got to stay under $10 million if they want to stay underneath the competitive balance tax. But on the same time, you only get him for a half a season. It's not It's not worth it. But that's why I like Crochet more than I like Severino, or Crochet better than a lot of these other players, which I'm sure a lot of other teams do as well. But I am more willing to give up a Lesko and a Snelling and those guys for Crochet, because you get those years of control And he's not making a lot of money. Garrett Crochet's making $800,000. It
This
makes
year, yeah.
sense. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got ARB 2 and ARB 3 the next 2 years. I can't imagine that going from $800,000 to like $15 million overnight. So he's an affordable piece, and by the time you get him, he's not going to cost you a lot. That's why that list I gave was the list I gave. But to me, Padres are looking for guys that can stay under $10 million total. So you're looking for league minimum arbitration players. You're looking for players that have years of control, and you're looking for young players. Otherwise, trading your prospects don't make any sense.
Or you're looking for players who the team that is trading them is willing to pay their whole salary this year.
Right, or you could just
Rise style.
or you could just swindle the Marlins the entire time.
Yeah. Well, and that was a gigantic mistake. I'm sorry. I feel like I keep hitting the same drum with the same mallet, but like that's got to be kept in context that Preller made a trade, a big trade, a 4-for-1 deal to get Luis Arraez, and the immediate response from baseball was for the Marlins GM Bendix, right? Peter
Bendix.
More like Peter bent over over a barrel.
Pause.
Peter, everyone's like, Bendix, you got robbed, Joe. Why didn't you wait for a better deal? Why didn't you talk to another team? And
people in his own organization
yes,
think Peter Bendix got robbed. He got fleeced as a rookie GM or a rookie in that role.
Right.
And yeah, didn't talk to other teams, didn't shop Luis Arraez around, could have gotten a lot more back for him.
So in that context, Preller going out and trying to do the same thing another GM, it's not going to happen.
And I doubt it happens with the Marlins again. Like you might be able to get something more than from other teams, but believe me, I think this guy has realized that
Wusekko got
gonna
cut,
work out for him.
and they have to pay for his contract. And then one of the other pieces, didn't he get hurt?
Yeah, Dylan had a season-ending surgery.
Season-ending surgery, and it's like it's looking even worse for the Marlins.
Well, you got Marcy though. Hey,
Hey, good luck.
Good luck.
Have fun, Miami.
But no, you're absolutely right. Like these aren't desperation trades from the other teams.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get to kind of look at AJ Preller too and go like, up your offer, buddy.
This is completely unpopular, and I accept this. I accept that I'm being unpopular right now with this particular opinion. I think the Padres need to wait. I don't think there is a move to be made right now. I think that you made those two moves. You have to ride that out. You put in so much capital in the Cease and Arraez deals. You have to ride this out. You put so much capital in the Soto trade to get what you got. Like, Johnny Brito needs to be an answer right now for this organization.
Wait till the trade deadline?
I mean, wait till closer to the trade deadline.
I don't know if they can afford to.
I don't think they can afford to pay the price to make a deal right now.
Well, I wouldn't overpay for these guys.
I wouldn't overpay, right?
Right. I mean, it's like
if you can make a smart,
you're car shopping,
smart
right?
one.
And you're trying to negotiate the price down, and they say XYZ for the beginning. You're like, yeah, I was thinking about paying this, and you're eventually going to get to a number that you would like in your own mind. But right now it's like they're going to give you like, no, we can't take any off sticker price for these players. You got to be a little patient. But I think in terms of trade now, is Preller needs to be on it, working all the phones right now, which we know he's doing.
Yeah.
So
yes,
in
definitely.
theory, he is making moves right now. He's making deals right now. He's formulating deals. He doesn't need to pull the trigger until he gets the deal that he likes.
Correct.
And that's kind of where we're at. So he's working. He needs to actively work right now. And if a deal happens, if he gets something that he likes before the deadline, don't wait. Let's pull the trigger.
And one thing we know about Preller is he's relentless, and sometimes he can just wear people down a little bit.
That's true.
I don't know that it's like, as simple as I make it sound there, but sometimes, it's the guy that's annoying you the most, maybe, that you're like, fine, okay, this is acceptable at some point. This is an acceptable deal for us.
He might pressure us. He might pressure a team to pull the trigger that is waiting for other teams. Yeah. I mean, who blinks first? I mean, we've seen Preller be able to do that with a lot. You make the offer to Chicago, and Chicago's like, hey, guys, like, anybody want to up the ante? And every other team's like, nah, we're good. We're just kind of waiting around. Chicago might be on the clock from Preller. Go, that might be my best offer. I might not give you anything else like that. And then Chicago panics, and they make the deal, and then all of a sudden Preller gets what he wants, and he doesn't give up guys like DeVries or Salas.
I agree with you both. I don't think you overpay because they have too many holes. You have too many holes, and you have budgetary things that are going on this year, next year, most likely. They're going to continue. So it's not like you have we have an endless checkbook, and we'll just be able to fill it in the offseason. I mean, they'll be able to make moves, certainly. But
there's only 2 teams right now, maybe 3, that should overpay for anybody. It's like it's Philly and it's like the Yankees and maybe the Dodgers, but even the Dodgers are not a complete team. The Braves have had their injuries. I mean, there's not a lot of teams in baseball that can go all in on one player. And I don't think there's a player on the market that's worth going all in for that's going to win somebody a World Series.
There's no Soto out there. There's no Garrett Cole to
No
trade for
Ohtani.
back
And
a few years
One player
ago.
isn't going to make the difference. Like they need. I don't think one player is going to set them over the edge.
There's no prime Verlander that you can go trade
Right.
for
Yeah.
right now. And like if one of those was available, it could be a different conversation. I think you guys know by now, I'm extremely fluid when it comes to trade discussions. Like, tell me what the deal is. Who are the players that we're giving up? Who are we getting back? If it's a good deal, I want to make it every single time. Like, I want to trade every player that is not going to be successful out of the farm system to get proven stuff, but I want to keep the good ones. The reality of the situation is if you have a pool, if you can just visualize a pool, the Padres' talent pool in the minors, they've already brought over a big suction hose and pulled from that pool twice this year. That pool is a lot lower level than it was earlier. At some point, you drain the pool dry if you just keep pulling out of desperation.
But do you agree that between now and the trade deadline, they could lose themselves out of the race if the starting pitching holes don't fill the way that they need to?
Yeah, but also we've done all of these things and we're still 2 games over 500.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
it could be Tatis that is absence that sinks the team. It could be something else along the way.
Bullpen, it could be right.
And we need a guy to hit lefties. We
here's-
need another reliever.
Here's the other view on this. We talk about the competitive market. I don't think there's any team out there really that the Padres are competing with in terms of trades that can go all in on one player either.
I think they might be looking at the teams around them too, and in
There's like-
that 500 thing,
Right,
and
there's
thinking, hey, these guys are going to drop off.
Well,
Like,
look at the standings. I mean, what teams are like totally complete teams that could use one piece?
they're in the same
Baltimore,
position as the Padres.
the Yankees, and the Phillies.
Dodgers could use a pitcher for sure.
They could use multiple things though.
Yeah.
Like
But
they're not.
they'll
Are they
just
going to
get
go
whatever they
all?
want,
Are they going to
really,
go all
like-
in for just one
That's
guy?
my point. This is really.
But you've got to just stay in the wild card race. But I'm saying that the grouping around them in the wild card race. I wonder if there's Padres officials looking at that, like front office, looking at that group and going, okay, there's 9 teams here right now, but realistically, 3 or 4 are going to drop
Right.
off that we've got a better roster than, or we feel like we're going to beat out.
The
Regardless.
Dodgers
Yeah.
don't panic buy at the deadline though.
I don't even think they're in the race with the Dodgers.
No, but what I'm saying is it's like all these teams, we talk about it, it is a seller's market, but for what the Padres need to make all these deals throughout baseball, and we talk about driving up the price, I mean, I don't think the only way to me that's going to be a major case is if all of these teams are just going, we're only going to get one piece at the deadline and we're going to go all in for that one piece. And I don't think any of these teams really in contention, with the exception of maybe 3, again, that are way above everybody else, can afford to go all in on just one piece where their deal is better than everybody else, and you end up losing out. And you know what? If you're the Padres, I think that actually helps you in the long run. If somebody overpays for somebody else, you're like, you know what? We don't need that guy moving forward. But I mean, even Craig, you mentioned the Dodgers. I mean, even the Dodgers, they have multiple holes. Their bullpen has not been that great. Their starting pitching's okay. The bottom of their order is not good at
it's
all.
trash right now.
This is not one of those vintage Dodger teams that you're terrified of. Are they going to go all in?
Yes,
and
they
trade
spent
for
$1 billion on this year's
Yeah,
team.
but,
They're all in.
But they don't do that. They're not going to send their top 8 prospects for one player.
They
Top
did it
5
for Turner and
prospects for one player.
Scherzer. They did it years before that in the Agon trade. I think
That's
they'll
for
make
one,
a giant trade.
but those teams were different though. Those teams were one piece away. This Dodgers team is not one piece away.
I don't think Preller needs at least 2, if not 3 pieces. He has to stay under $12 million, and he has to not give up the entire farm. It's a tall
No problem.
task.
Easy.
Yeah.
Under $10
No
million.
worries.
10.
Under
Just
$10 million.
find the next 2 profars, except a couple
There
of them
you
have
go.
to pitch. They have to be pitching profars this time. Nonetheless, all right, a very fun discussion. Let's take a break. We've got one more segment left on Annie and Elsten, and we've got a mini 12 o'clock sports fix.
We do?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we
Okay.
do. Yeah, it's sponsored.
Oh, yay.
It
Great.
is.
Okay.
sponsored.
I can't wait then.
So, hey, I've got lots of news in my little
Oh,
piece.
good.
I've got lots of news in my little piece. But we're going till 12:05 here, and then it's Sam Levitt. Stay tuned. Padres baseball. Got to get this sweep. Get it. Let's get on that roll. Let's make yesterday and Monday mean something real. by turning it into the start of a run and then saying, remember when this run started? It's when the Nationals came to town, and remember what Profar did? I want this to be a memory-making week for the San Diego Padres. I want this not to go into the bin with the rest of them of like, oh, yeah, I remember those good times. Oh, and what were we? Well, we were 500. Like, let's go. Let's go. I'm fired up. Annie and Elsten, we wrap things up next on The Fan. A reminder to stay tuned for the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt coming up next on 97.3 The Fan. Annie and Elsten with one more segment for you, and we will carry it over the top of the hour to 12:05, and then it'll be Sam time. Last game of the homestand. What a homestand.
Do you think there'll be any action like we had last night today? I don't.
The Padres would have to start it, and according to Mike Schilt, they won't start it. They'll only finish
They'll
it.
only finish it.
Yeah, because the Nationals got it put to them yesterday.
If you're the Nationals, you're just trying to win this game.
Yeah.
And if you're the Padres, you're trying to sweep. I don't see any extracurriculars happening in this one, but who knows?
This is a huge game for both teams.
Exactly.
And that's why, it's our nature. It's something that's frustrating but also fun. Like, we're in here every day. So on a big game like this, you want to just have the pom-poms out and just be sis boom ba. Remember that? It was incredible. But like,
Did you say sis?
He
What
just
did you
said
say?
sis boom
rah,
ba.
rah,
Sis
sis
boom
boom ba, sit down, stand up, fight, fight, fight.
What?
Wow.
I'm sorry. What?
That's an old cheerleader chant right there.
An old. I've never. My mom was a cheerleader in high school
I
and
don't
coached
recall doing that
cheer,
one either.
and it's
Rah,
all
rah,
about
sis, boom,
cheer.
ba.
I've never heard of that one ever.
Sit down,
heard-
stand up, fight, fight, fight.
Is that a Long Beach Poly chant?
I think maybe. I don't know. I definitely heard it
Sisu
at some
what?
point. Rah, rah, sis, boom, ba.
Wow.
I've heard the first part.
Yeah. Sit down, stand up, fight, fight, fight.
No, but I understand where you're going with it. This was a student section, probably kind of chant,
Tyler recognizes.
Okay,
It says
Tyler.
it's a throwback. Yeah, it's a
Throwback.
throwback.
It's vintage,
Sisu
Tyler.
ba.
It's
Sis
vintage.
boom ba.
Rah, rah,
Vintage.
sis, boom, ba.
I've never heard of that ever.
Wow.
The Dons are not. They're not.
Well, they need to get
inclined.
into the sis, boom, ba.
Yeah, I guess
think,
so.
I mean,
you know what?
if you
We
really
should-
want to go next level.
I think we need to invite you over to get these. She could start teaching the students the chant in the student section.
Michelle's,
yeah.
yep, older chant, but it checks out.
Wow.
Yes,
I'll have
okay.
to ask my mom about that.
Yeah, please do.
Sis boom ba.
I always like sit down, stand up, fight, fight, fight. Like, sit down, stand up, fight, fight, fight.
Well,
I like
did the whole
You guys all doing that? or no?
physical part of it as well.
There you go, Zach. I heard it from Bugs Bunny. That had to be it. I heard it from Looney Tunes.
That
Had
makes
to have
more
heard it
sense
from
now.
Looney Tunes.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Checks out.
Bricka bracka firecracker sis boom ba.
Do you have a Bugs Bunny impersonation, Craig? Can you do that voice? Is that in your repertoire?
Yeah, let me think about it.
Doc?
What's up, Doc? Yeah, I guess I could. I could if I tried.
Now picturing
Cease boom
him-
ba. Thank you,
Oh
Tyler.
wow, we're on to something now.
Today is a cease boom
Boom
ba.
ba.
We need
I
a cease
can't
boom
wait
ba.
for the video board to
Tyler
put that on the
comes
screen.
through.
Appreciate you, mate.
Although I will say, I think this entire thing is way funnier if I picture it in Bugs Bunny's voice. Nah.
At least we found the
firecracker,
etymology
sis,
of this.
boom
I
ba.
appreciate this journey through my mind. We figured out where it came from. It came from Bugs Bunny, and that makes perfect sense. I can't tell you how many Looney Tunes I watched growing up. Like,
Sis boom
a
ba
lot.
humbug.
a lot.
What is it?
Lean to the left, lean to the right, stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight. There you go.
Everybody's got their chants ready.
Apparently, it was a skit on the Tonight Show. Johnny Carson
Oh,
Okay.
maybe you
All
remember
right.
it from
as
there.
Karnak the Magnificent with Sis Boom Ba skit.
Okay. All right. Well, and you know what? My dad always watched Johnny Carson. So
It's,
There it
it's
is.
in your recesses.
it's in there.
Yes.
It's in there, and it came out. Ta-da! And here it is.
All right, we digress.
Let's get to a miniature fix.
Miniature.
Bing, bing, bing,
Ah,
bing,
dang
bing,
it.
Bing, bing. Oh, okay.
It played the other thing. Sis Boom Ba.
Michelle in Lakeside in the chat. Breaking news: Craig Holt.
I like Ivan's
Wow.
maniacally nibbles carrots.
Oh my gosh. Turned
or
50,
manically, sorry, Ivan.
52 on Friday, Michelle. Still feel young inside. Still remember Looney Tunes stuff. How about that? It's time for all the news of the day. It is time for a miniature version of your 12 o'clock sports fix, which normally comes your way at 12 o'clock on this program. Andy, what you got for? It's going to be simple. It's going to be baseball news, baseball scores, and then I got the soccer and the NBA stuff. So what you got?
Okay, in MLB, the Brewers, like we said this yesterday, they've officially selected Dallas Keuchel's contract. The team announced they sent cash to the Seattle Mariners on Tuesday to acquire him. He spent all of this season in the minors. The price was $1. Yesterday at
Really?
$1 to acquire Dallas Keuchel's
I'll
contract.
buy that for $1.
Maybe probably can find some dollar players at the dollar
Remember when
store.
guys retire and they give them the dollar
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
press
Yeah,
the
conference?
$1 deal.
Okay. Yesterday
Ouch.
at Great American Ballpark, Cincinnati Reds starting pitcher Hunter Green had an off night. When Green faced the second batter of the game, he threw up on the mound.
He was feeling a bit green.
Yes.
Green in the gills.
Was
He
he
had no
dehydrated?
Spoomba on him.
No.
A few pitches later, he allowed a 2-run homer to Pirates left fielder Brian Reynolds. Green threw up for the second straight time during one of his starts over the course of a week. I guess last week when Green faced the Pirates, it was an incredibly hot day. He threw up due to drinking too much water. He hydrated too much, he said. Lots of...
I mean,
throwing
you
happening.
can do that.
You could do that. I've done that
100%,
before.
For sure.
You need
Especially if
some
you
food.
go... You hydrate and then you work out?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
And then
So
you're
Hydrate
like
too
really
much.
chugging it. Yeah.
hopefully he's feeling better.
You
Get
could
that IV in you, Hunter.
Exactly.
More like sick boomba.
Yeah,
huh?
you're sick, Boomba.
Blah.
Good
Sick
job,
boom,
Matt.
blah.
And in honor of last night, here's a Jurickson Profar appreciation portion of this sports fix. Jurickson Profar's batting average, .317, number 1 in the National League, number 2 in all of Major League Baseball. His on-base percentage, .410, number 1 in the National League, number 3 in all of baseball. Average with the bases loaded, he is 5 for 5, 2 home runs, 2 doubles,
that.
a single, a walk. Are we getting...
No, it's
Okay,
fine.
all right. And
There's an automator. It's gone.
Adam forgot to change the time.
his average with runners in
vacation.
scoring position, .367, number 2 on the Padres. And this is a big one. His average in close and late situations, .519, number 1
Is that good?
in all of Major League Baseball.
.519.
He is clutch as clutch can be, especially with the bases loaded and in close and late. Okay, the Padres will take on the Nationals for Game 3 of the series. They'll go for the sweep today. It'll be lefty DJ Hers on the mound.
DJ Hers.
I'm only going to think of him now in that voice. He'll be on the mound for the Nats and Dylan Cease for the Padres. First pitch, 1:10 p.m.
All right. Speaking of Dallas Keuchel, he's on the mound. Braden's got your baseball scoreboard. Plenty of stuff in progress.
That's right. We got some stuff going on right now in Major League Baseball. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games that are currently in action throughout Major League Baseball. Starting with the game that's about to finish, Seattle Mariners are leading the Tampa Bay Rays 5-1 in the bottom half of the ninth inning. But Tampa Bay's got the bases loaded with nobody out. We'll see what the Rays can do down in Tampa. In the bottom of the seventh inning, it's the Pittsburgh Pirates leading the Cincinnati Reds by a score of 6-1. Bottom half of the seventh. In the bottom half of the seventh, in Detroit, it's the Phillies 5
Detroit.
and the Detroit Tigers 1. In Houston, the Rockies and Astros are scoreless in the bottom of the fourth. Marlins lead the Royals 1-0 in the bottom half of the third inning in KC. Up in the Beer City, the Texas Rangers have a 1-0 lead on the Brew Crew in the bottom half of the third. And in St. Louis, Atlanta with a 3-0 lead on the Cardinals, top half of 2. Next games to get underway, the A's at the Big A taking on the Angels. Guardians and Orioles will get underway at 3:35 p.m. Pacific time. 4:10 starts, the Blue Jays at Fenway Park, the Yankees at Citi Field to take on the Mets. 5:10 game between the Dodgers and the White Sox from the south side. 6:40 Twins down in the desert to take on the Diamondbacks. Cubs and Giants will start at 6:45, and the Braves and Cardinals will play 2 today. Their second game is slated to start at 4:15 p.m. Pacific time. So
All
that's
right.
a look at the out-of-town scoreboard on our pregame show.
Which brings it over to me, and I've got for you your latest soccer update along with the National Basketball Association. So we'll start with the Euro 2024 scoreboard, the UEFA Euro Championships. Today is the final day of the group stage, and there are 24 teams within the tournament. 16 will advance to the knockouts. That means that there's 6 groups of 4. Each of the top 2 teams make it, plus 4 of the 6 third-place teams. What I'm telling you by telling you that is I can't say exactly what's happening. You literally need to get all of these games in and then figure out the points and the goal differentials and who's the third best third place team, who's the second. Okay? Slovakia and Romania earlier today, a 1-1 draw. Ukraine and Belgium, a scoreless draw. And kicking off in 2 minutes, Georgia and Portugal and the Czech Republic and Turkey will do battle. And we'll have more tomorrow on how it all sorted out. Meanwhile, at Copa America yesterday, it was Argentina taking care of Chile by a 1-0 score. Canada also picking up a dub yesterday. Today at 3 o'clock, it'll be Ecuador battling Jamaica, the Reggae Boys taking on Ecuador, and it'll be Venezuela against Mexico, Panama, and the United States tomorrow from Miami.
Canada finally gets something. They didn't
Besides
get
being
the Stanley
blamed.
Cup.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they did get a 1-0 win over Peru.
okay.
So good
That's
on
good.
them. Canada got a win. CONCACAF teams have done very well so far in Copa America, and we'll see how it all shakes out as we continue. The 18-woman U.S. women's soccer Olympic team was announced today. And great news for San Diego Wave FC. They got 2 players on the team. Hard to get 2 out of 18 on the team, but they did. Naomi Girma will be the starting center back for the United States women's national team, and Jaden Shaw will be there as well as a forward. However, guess who's not there? Alex Morgan. Alex Morgan left off this roster. Really not a surprise if you're following the women's national team closely, because earlier this summer, or this spring, I should say, she was left off a 23-person roster. This is an 18-person roster, much more difficult to make. Nonetheless, it is the first time since 2008 that the U.S. women's team has played. Oh, hello.
God, this thing is all jacked up.
Yeah, it's all automated. Automation. First time since 2008 that Alex Morgan has not been on a U.S. women's team going to a major tournament.
2008.
2008.
She's been on every team.
Every team.
Wow.
Yep. Every major team.
Yeah.
Every major
Like every
tournament.
significant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she will not be there this year. However, she's also not scored a single goal
Been
this
a rough,
year.
Yeah, rough season. Right?
Yeah, in international or club play. So she didn't earn a spot on the team this year. Also, they would have been overloaded at forward if they selected her. They picked Crystal Dunn, who can play multiple positions. Alex can play one position for the team, which is center forward. So that is the Alex Morgan story. Over to the NBA draft. Tonight, first round. Why does every team do this now, or every league do this? Now, the first round one day, second round the next day. There's only like 60 picks in the NBA
They're
draft.
just trying to draw out these broadcasts.
They really
right?
are.
Like
Yeah, content farming.
Right.
The
They're content
engagement farming industry.
they're selling the first round or whatever, and then selling the second round. I guess I don't know.
Well, the Atlanta Hawks hold the number 1 pick. There is no consensus number 1 player this year. In fact, the 2024 draft is looked at as one of the weakest of the century so far. Some decent players, some interesting and intriguing players, but nobody like stratified as a clear star coming out. So stay tuned to that. First pick will be at 5:15 today. Prior to the draft, I should say, a major trade took place yesterday. Mikal Bridges, who is a star from Phoenix to Brooklyn, has been traded to the New York Knicks. In exchange, the Nets get 5 first-round picks from the New York Knicks. One of them top 4 protected next year, but the rest of them unprotected picks. So, wow, huge haul as Brooklyn resets themselves as a team that's rebuilding. And Mikal Bridges goes to play with all of his Villanova teammates that he won a national championship with, Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo. So it's a Villanova reunion in New York. It's a great-looking team for the Knicks. And for the Nets, it's a really smart trade. And that's it. There it is, your mini fix.
Illegal ID.
Let's pause for station identification. You're listening to 97.3 The Fan.
Who are they identifying for?
All right, fixed all that stuff.
Who, the station identification, like who's?
That's the FCC.
For the
In
FCC.
order to have your
okay.
license to have a radio signal, you have to announce what your station call letters are once every hour.
Somewhere
Either
between 5 minutes before
So
to 5 minutes after.
after the top of the hour.
So they know who is broadcasting. They don't have any other way to.
Yes, and they have to
figure
be
it
your
out?
official call letters too. So ours is KWFN. Even though we're 97 through the fan, we have to say KWFN at
San
some
Diego.
point during the thing.
KWFN, FM, San Diego. No, it's true.
I believe it.
Like there's multiple KISS FMs
the
out there.
FCC has a lot of
But there's only
regulations.
one real KISS FM, so they get to say KISS, and everybody else has to say their actual call
Ivan
letters.
thinks that we don't know we're on air. Ivan, I'm asking these questions
we are
on air.
aware
Yeah.
that we are on air for another entire minute and change.
Ivan, yeah, this was just my own thought process happening on air, much to the chagrin of my coworkers.
Remember,
in
all
here.
these rules took place before computers and before
I'm just surprised
digital
That's what I
fingerprints, so to
mean.
speak.
I'm surprised it hasn't changed. Like now you can digitally track everything.
But then what happens when the computer crashes?
That's true.
So that's why. That's
Which
why we're the
happened
old school
during our
bastion.
thing.
Yeah, remember when we had to do the commercials and
I
sing
do.
them? So
I do.
Yeah, computers
Yeah.
crash.
Yeah. All right. Well,
It
now we
happens.
all know.
Had to redo
I
the
would say you're
automated
welcome,
system
but
in
no one
here,
probably
put
wanted
out
that.
fires.
Well, gang, up next, it's Padres baseball. It's a beautiful day for it. It's a little less hot than it's been the last couple of days. Let's see if the Friars can pull this sweep out. What a homestand it would be. I can't say this more clearly. Like, the season was coming into this homestand. A 1-5 road trip, a first-place Brewers team, a Nationals team that's right on your, breathing down your neck in the standings. This could have gone a different direction. They've won 5 out of 6. They've played some of their most exciting, entertaining, dramatic, pulling for one another, everyone yanking on the rope, same direction baseball. Finish it. Finish it. Finish it today. Get her done. Annie, we'll see you tomorrow on the roundtable.
See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Braden, great job as always.
Talk to you.
For Annie and Braden, I'm Craig. Sammy's next. Go Padres!